in history, all 4 belts in the cruiserweight division will belong proudly around the waist of one man. For a press conference announcing the next Haymaker Ring Star professional boxing promotion. It goes live on terrestrial television, free-to-air TV on Channel 5 this Saturday night from 10:30, where all of the boxers at this top table will be in action. There's a full undercard of bouts as well, which will be being streamed on the Sport Bible from the start of the action. Well, my name is Ronald McIntosh. It's my pleasure to be your host and facilitator for this press conference here at the Park Plaza in Vauxhall this afternoon. Usual housekeeping before we get underway. If I could just ask that all mobile phones are turned to silent before we get underway, and there will be photo opportunities, head-to-heads for the photographers in attendance here and the videographers, head-to-heads, eyeballing one another at the end of the press conference, and then group interviews will take place after that point. So, without further ado then, let's get underway with the introductions. Immediately to my right is David Haye, the Chief Executive Officer of Haymaker Promotions. He's a promoter of note for this bill of professional boxing on Saturday night at the venerable institution of small hall boxing at York Hall in London's East End. Then immediately to David's right, we've got the Rio Olympics silver medalist from the super heavyweight division, preparing for his 3rd bout in the professional ranks, and that is the juggernaut, Joyce. 2 fights, 2 wins, and 2 knockouts to this point. Then, immediately to Joe's right, we have a debutante who will be making her professional bow at the York Hall on Saturday night. That is Roxana Begum, no stranger to combat sports, having conquered the world in the realms of kickboxing and Muay Thai, but she's switching over to the noble art, and her professional bow will be on Saturday. Then you can see that coveted Lord Lonsdale belt sitting proudly in front of the reigning cruiserweight champion of Great Britain. That is Matty Askins, who's preparing to defend his cruiserweight title. And then, end of the table, Mr. Wadi Camacho, the Southern Area cruiserweight champion. He's got his strap proudly sitting on top of that silver briefcase, and he will be defending that title on Saturday night. On my left, we've got Donnie Palmer, Big Nasty, over from Boston, USA. He's the opponent for Joyce, standing nearly 7 feet tall, and he's coming to derail what he feels has been a lot of premature hype put in the direction of Joyce. He's had a lot to say about the state of British heavyweight boxing, and Joyce in particular. We'll hear from both men in just a few moments' time. Then we've got the challenger for the British cruiserweight title from Edinburgh, Stephen Simmons, the monster, looking to make history by becoming the first Scottish boxer to win the British cruiserweight title. And then on the far left side, we've got Danny Cousins, who will be challenging Wadi Camacho, squaring off in the ring yet again as he goes for his 4th bid for a Southern Area title. So, those are all the boxers, but we'll begin getting things underway by speaking with the promoter, the former 2-weight world champion, who is here in a promotional capacity, promoting this bill at the York Hall, a special venue for you where you've performed on many occasions. What will viewers, what will punters in attendance have to look forward to on this Haymaker Ring Star promotion?
First off, thank you everyone for coming, and I believe you're going to get a very exciting fight. We've got a guy in Donnie Palmer challenging Joyce, who contacted me. That's very rare, you know. We're scouring the earth for heavyweights to fight, and Donnie Palmer contacted us. He'd heard, you know, the Derek Chisoras of the world are swerving Big Joe, and he wanted to come over to London. He's been here before. He's actually in training camp with Dylan White at the moment. He's here to win, and he's here to win it spectacularly, and that's what we want from our fighters. Joyce, you know, he's willing to fight anybody. I mentioned a name. He said yes. Joyce said, okay. I said he's 9-1. He's knocked 8 of those out. He said, let's do it. Great. Simple as, you know, that's how boxing in my eyes should work, and that's how it's working this time around. And you know, I'm very excited about the fight. It's going to be live on Channel 5, you know, on terrestrial television. The British public don't have to put their hand in the pocket to enjoy a good night of entertainment. And also, you've got the British Cruiserweight Championship on the line as well, with Simmons challenging. You know, it's going to be a tough fight. You know, Matty ASKIN is a guy who has been on the fringe of the world titles, and with the cruiserweight division being such a hotbed at the moment, with the World Series happening, with, you know, the 200-pound division being so highly sought after at the moment, this British title could leapfrog one of these two fighters to that, the plateau of the world cruiserweight division. I'm looking forward to this fight. The fans are, and as a promoter, it's a dream. I can sit back and enjoy the boxing. I've got my fight coming up in a few months' time. But as a promoter, I'm sitting back. I'm happy. I'm looking at the promotion. I've got a great team who take a lot of the stress away from me. I know a lot of people are worried about me put too much of my energy into the promotional side of this. But I'm cool. I'm calm. I've trained early. I'm training again later on. And as a promoter, I'm happy. The fighters are in fantastic condition, all of them. And I'm imploring everybody to tune into Channel 5 to see a fantastic night of boxing.
Well, it promises to be the co-main event. We'll get to that. We'll speak to the boxers shortly. But from the co-main event's point of view, the British cruiserweight title between the assassin, Matty ASKIN, and the monster, Stephen Simmons. How much does that title resonate with you? As we've mentioned earlier on, you fought several times at the York Hall as an amateur. That's perhaps where your coming out party was, when you put Courtney Fry on the floor, announcing yourself out of the Fitzroy Lodge. The venue and the title you never won, exactly. But it's where you started. How much does that title resonate with you?
It's a title that I always wanted to win. I've had the Cruiserweight, WBC, WA, WO, Ring Magazine, but I never had that British title. And Matty ASKIN has a title I've never had. And it means so much to every British boxer having that Lonsdale belt around their waist. And that's why I know how much it means to both of these fighters. It's a historic belt. It's got so much pride. And as you said, the York Hall, Bethnal Green. As an amateur, I had many fights there as a professional European title fights. And it's, if you was there at the last show we had, it was a fantastic atmosphere. And I'm expecting nothing less this time.
Well, let's turn our attention to the boxers now. A man who performed on that last promotion of Haymaker Ring Star at the York Hall was Joyce. And Joe, you made it a short night's work, getting your second professional win under your belt with a first round knockout. Here you are in action again just a few weeks later on. How have preparations gone for this, facing off against Donnie Palmer from the USA?
Yeah, preparations have gone amazingly well as usual in the Haymaker gym behind us, and I've been working with Salas and the team, fine-tuning my boxing fundamentals, and I'm very happy to be boxing in York Hall, Bethnal Green again. I've boxed there many times in the ABAs and other competitions and as a pro, and I'm very happy to have Donnie Palmer over here. He's got into contact with us to wants to fight me, so it's great he's come over across the pond to take on such a challenging opponent in myself.
Now, according to the tail of the tape, just for the record, Joyce 6'6", 18 stone, but according to the tail of the tape, the man to my left is pushing 6 feet 10 inches. So it's going to be something of a rare occasion for you to be punching upwards. You did it in the amateur ranks, outpointed the 6'9" Ivan Dichko en route to that Olympic silver. How big an adjustment is it to be punching up, facing an opponent bigger, potentially heavier than yourself?
Yeah, it's obviously going to be challenging for me also. Obviously I've boxed the likes of Dichko in the Olympic Games, so I know how it is to punch upwards. I've also sparred with Tyson Fury, who's like 6'9". If you want to do some sparring later, we can do so.
So not concerned about having to make that adjustment again and alter the trajectory of your punches?
No, I'll be good. I'll be good come Saturday night.
So that Olympic title, that Olympic silver medal, which many felt should have been an Olympic title when you were outpointed in the gold medal bout by Tony Yoka. Now, 2 fights into your professional career, you started with a really stern test over 10 rounds, then a 1-round knockout at the York Hall. What differences are you finding between Olympic-style boxing and professional boxing, and how do you feel you've made the adjustment?
I think with Olympic boxing, it's more like a sprint, and in professional boxing, it's a bit more of a marathon, or maybe like a 400, 800 meters. I don't know, but it all can end very, very rapidly, like in the first round in my last fight. So I think I am comfortable when I, feel ready to take on whoever, and I'm just ready for all challenges and like fighters that I just want there's a lot of fighters that have been avoiding me, and I'm just so happy that Donnie's took the challenge and he's not ducking. You know what I mean? So let's get on Saturday night.
Well, let's hear from the man now, not just the man who isn't ducking the challenge. Big Nasty Donnie Palmer sought out the challenge, got in touch with the promoter David Haye and said that he is willing to take on his protege, Joe Joyce, over the professional 10-round distance at the York Hall on Saturday night. So here you are, from Boston in the United States, an amateur career noteworthy amateur career of your own, representing the US Army in their elite athlete program, 64 wins, 11 losses, 48 of those wins coming inside the distance. For those who may not have seen you before in the pro ranks, where you bring a record of 9 wins, 8 knockouts, 1 draw, 1 defeat, what can people expect from you?
A knockout. A knockout. That's what they can expect from me. I'm gonna work hard. You know, I respect Joe Joyce. You know, thank you for taking the challenge. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, Mr. Haye. You know, I need what Joe Joyce has. I need what he has. You know, I'm a school teacher. You know, I don't get to box full time like this guy. You know, like this guy has a silver spoon in his mouth. You know, I'm a special ed school teacher. So from 6 in the morning to 4 at night, I go teach kids with autism. Then I go home. I hit the gym, and I come back to my family. Now this fight will elevate my career and help me be a full-time boxer, be a full-time champ, you know? So I'm coming to take what Joe Joyce has.
Now, you tried out for the Olympic team, the US Olympic team in 2012 and 2016. Do you know, 2008 and 2012, Beijing and London, trying to make those teams. Do you know how challenging that is, given Joe's amateur credentials and that he made the team, won that Olympic silver? What makes you so confident that you have the skill set to upset his professional progress?
The amateurs were better in 2008, 2012.
And so, obviously, taller than Joe, bigger than Joe, what type of skill set do you bring into this contest? How can you make life difficult for Joe Joyce? Everybody in the room who follows boxing and those who have followed his amateur career know what he brings. For those who haven't seen you, what type of skill set do you bring? How do you make use of your size, height, and length?
I'm highly skilled. I'm a boxer, puncher. Very slick, so they call me Big Nasty. I'm slick for a big guy, you know. Take my time, like a big Cadillac, you know. I just keep cruising throughout the rounds, you know, until I find my spot, you know. And I put it in the park, you know. That's what I plan on doing with Joe. That's it.
Now, as a professional, even though you're working as a school teacher as well, but as a professional, you will be aware of the things that he brings to the table, and one of his biggest assets that everybody who's boxed against him, everybody who's trained with him, is the pace that he can set. How prepared are you to deal with the pace that he is being able to set throughout his professional career to this point?
I'm prepared for it. I've been in the ring with Klitschko, been in the ring with Eric and Terrell. I've been in the ring with almost every world champion, been to almost every sparring camp in this world, in this country. I mean, I'm prepared. You know, I just got out of the camp with Simon Keane. You know, the Montreal, he's in Montreal, Canada. He's an IBO Intercontinental Champion. I was in camp with him 2 weeks. You know, he's big. He sits a very high, fast pace. You know, so I'm prepared. You know, I mean, I respect Joe. He's like he's an engine. You know, he's an engine. You know, I just gotta do my own thing. You know, stay in my own lane, and just wait for the knockout. Just wait for it. It'll come.
Well, we look forward to seeing it. That is the co-main event at York Hall on Saturday night. Tune in, Channel 5 from 10:30 p.m. on Saturday night. The co-main event feature a heavyweight special attraction between the Rio Olympic silver medalist from the super heavyweight division, Joe Joyce, and a man from Boston, Massachusetts, fighting in the UK for the first time as a professional. That is Big Nasty Donnie Palmer. That's the co-main event in the heavyweight division, and the featured main event bout is the British Cruiserweight title, and making a defense of that title is the assassin, Matty Askin, preparing for his 27th bout. You've isolated yourself away from your family, taken yourself to a remote farm reminiscent of something from a Rocky movie, getting ready for this contest. How have preparations gone, Matty?
Lonely, very lonely. They've gone brilliant, to be fair. I couldn't ask for anything better. You know, I've got to go out there and put on a big performance in my first defence, so everything needed to change into making sure that that's going to happen.
And the changes that you have implemented, as you say, isolating yourself away from your family in that big open space, what type of difference has that made to your preparation? What will we see on fight night that we haven't seen before?
You're going to see a lot more aggression, I think, a lot more passion once I'm in there. You know, I've spent a lot of time away from my partner and my little boy, and it's just made me a lot more hungry of what I want to succeed and what I want out of boxing. So, you know, on Saturday night, he's got a lot to answer for.
Most certainly you suggested that given the styles that you both possess, that you're not going to have to go looking for one another. You'll be right there in range, within the pocket. What type of contest do you think we're going to see on Saturday night between yourself and Simmons and Challenge?
It's going to be, it could be in a phone box, you know. I'm going to go out there, meet him straight in the middle and just punch his head in. It's as pure and simple as that. I ain't going to be going anywhere. I know that he doesn't really have the tools to hurt me, and there's one thing I do carry a lot of power, and you know, at some point in that fight he's going to be touching that canvas, I can assure you that.
Well, those strong words from the champion as he prepares for the defence of his coveted Lord Lonsdale belt. Stephen Simmons, this fight was supposed to have taken place last October. Injury prevented it from happening. You, in the meantime, won an Intercontinental title. So given that this is now happening at the second time of making, as it were, how keyed up are you for this, a British title challenge, where you have the chance to make history?
Oh, well, that's what makes it all the sweeter, the fact that I'm going to make history on this lovely city in London. So I'm really looking forward to it. I've had a lot of extra time to look at ASKINs, and it is what it is. Everybody's got a plan until they get hit in the ring, so we'll see on the night. Everybody tells me they're going to come and meet me in the middle, but it never happens, so we'll see on the night.
Now, in stark contrast to Matty, you were able to stay around your family getting ready for this, working during the day, delivering, installing bathrooms, heavy tiles, things of that nature, fitting your training in and around that. How have your preparations gone in getting ready for this British title bid?
Preparation's been really well. No injuries, everything's stayed at bay, so it's been really well. Been getting up in the morning, going to the gym, doing my running, going to work, delivering some top spec bathrooms around Edinburgh, climbing stairs and doing whatever, tiles, big baths, and then going training at night. And then obviously I'm missing out on a lot of time in my baby boy. My ASKIN's been away, kept his still whatever in farm. God knows what he's been doing, chopping trees or whatever. But I've been lucky enough to get home, but it's bedtime when I get in to see my baby, so I didn't really get much time. So it makes me even more hungrier just to take this title back up north.
Now, you've been doing this for 20 years. I was with you in Plovdiv, Bulgaria at the 2006 European Championships when you were proudly representing your country. Put into words what claiming this Lord Lonsdale belt would mean to you, given that you have dedicated your life to this sport.
See, to be honest with you, it's nearly 22 years I've been boxing for. Took me away from a background that you didn't really want to get it in when you're growing up, fighting in police at the door and stuff. So the Lord Lonsdale belt doesn't mean all that much to me. The fact that I'm going to make history by winning it just makes it all the sweeter. And to make the history in London, capital city of England, then Alba Gubrave.
And Matt has given us his assessment or his forecast as to what type of contest this one is going to be. How do you see it? You seem to doubt that Matthew is going to meet you in the centre of the boxing ring. What type of contest do you anticipate?
I'm anticipating going in there and controlling the fight from the start like I always do. Everybody tells me they're going to come forward and do this and that, but they're never able to, and it's always after the fight they say, now I realise why you called the monster.
I promise you, I'll meet you in the centre of that ring.
Good.
I'll meet you
Good.
in the centre of that
Good.
ring.
Good.
Touch that canvas
Good.
earlier than you
Good.
expected, mate. Because you're not going to box me.
I'm not going to.
You're too thick. You're too
I'm
thick
too
to
fat.
box. You should come
Listen,
forward,
hey.
getting it.
While
I can
we're
guarantee
talking,
it.
I think you should make
guarantee
a
it.
public apology for what the words and language that you use in your interviews, coming out with the terminology Hmong.
That's got nothing to do with what we're going to do.
Well, I think you should make a public apology for that.
No.
Why?
No. As in, there was a little,
You're an idiot, and I can't wait to wipe that
What's it?
smirk off your
What's
face.
it? Why you can't punch for shit?
Oh,
You ain't
why
gonna
did
do
you do it the
anything.
first
You're
time? You
not
say
gonna
there's
do
an
anything.
What
You're not gonna
injury
do
did you have?
anything, mate.
What injury did you have?
Mate, tore a tendon in my shoulder. I want knocked down.
Okay. You were in the gym 2 weeks later.
Yeah, well, I've got 2 atoms.
You were in the gym 2 weeks later, and I got told 2 weeks before the announcement that you pulled out that you were in the pub.
I was.
You were in the pub having a few babies.
What after the fight got called up?
No, before.
Well, we'll see.
2
we'll see
weeks
what-
before the fight got called off, I heard you were in the pisser getting babied. Because I know people down in Blackpool.
We'll see. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see.
So no love lost between the boxers who will be contesting the co-main event. That is a challenge for Matty Askin's British cruiserweight title. He's making the first defence of that crown. Stephen Simmons attempting to make British boxing history by becoming the first Scotsman to win the Lord Lonsdale belt in the cruiserweight division. That is our co-main event feature going on Channel 5, 10:30 p.m. Saturday night. Make sure you tune in, and the undercard will be being streamed on the Sport Bible before the main event fighters get in and do their thing. So immediately to Joe Joyce's right, we have Roxana Begum making her professional debut in the professional boxing ranks, but no stranger to combat sport, having been a fighter of some renown in the realms of Muay Thai and kickboxing. Roxana, a very warm welcome.
Thank you.
And if you could just begin by telling the assembled media members here about some of your story, because it is remarkable when you consider your culture, your heritage, your background. You say all of these things presented challenges from you being able to share with your family the fact that you were a fighter, that you were doing kickboxing and Muay Thai. Just explain how you found the sport, first of all, and why it was necessary for you to keep it clandestine from your family.
So, from a very young age, I was fascinated by martial arts. I was always watching boxing, looked up to Bruce Lee, and I knew it was out of the question for me to pursue a combat sport, given my background being Asian, female, Muslim, and a petite female. It was only in 2012 we introduced the women's boxing at the Olympics. So 10, 15 years ago, it was unheard of for females to walk into a sport such as boxing or Muay Thai. But I fell in love with the sport. From the age of 17, I discovered the sport at the school club, and I knew this is what I want to do with my spare time. So I then went along and decided to get a job and train in secret for approximately 5 years. So whilst I was at university studying, I would train once a week religiously. I would go above and beyond to make sure that my training would not suffer. I would be the best daughter at home, make sure my studies were all done, simply because this sport meant so much to me. I wasn't concerned about going out with my friends or doing anything else. The sport meant the world to me. I was very conscious of the fact that if I revealed this to my family, they may ask me to choose between the sport and them. So I kept it hidden from them. They're aware that I was actually going to the gym, but not knowing that I was taking part in martial arts. Even at that point, I wanted to compete, but I knew once a week was not enough dedication to compete on any level. So it was a hobby and a passion at that point. Later on, once I finished university, I realized it's a sport that's making me a better person, and I wanted to actually then bring my family to the gym and have their approval. I wanted their blessing, because if I'm going to do this, I wanted to go in with my heart and my soul, all in one. I couldn't do this without their support on a competitive level. I went through a stage in my life where things were not all up. So at that point, I found the courage to take my family to the gym and introduce them to my coach. They had a conversation, and I think they realized that it's not taking me away from my family values, my upbringing, my roots. It's in fact enhancing those things through sport. And And at that point, I just dived right into it and started competing on a competitive level. Within a year, I got selected for Team GB to represent at the World Championships, where more than 150 countries were taking part. I went along for the experience, however, I came back with the bronze medal, and then from that, it just went from strength to strength for me. And I realized through my achievements that I could do more, and there is no barriers. And for me now, I'm switching over to boxing because I realized I've climbed that mountain, and I realized my story can reach out to so many young women who I can inspire to follow any dream or passion in life. And this is what motivates me to step into the ring again.
Well, there have been some notable kickboxers who have made the transition to the noble art. George Groves was a world champion as a junior. Vitaly Klitschko was WBC heavyweight champion, was a kickboxer of note as well. How are you finding the adjustment to using just your hands to strike and your legs to move? How are you finding the adjustment from K1 and Muay Thai?
Initially, when I first decided to do this, I thought minus the legs I'll be fine. But I've realized it's much more complicated than that. I've come a long way. I've got such a great team behind me. David's such an inspiration, being here with Joe, Salas, and the team. We've got a fantastic team who are looking after me, and I think I've made such a sharp learning curve within less than 6 months of training, and I feel confident about my transformation.
And you touched on it during the course of your initial answer to the media about why you took up kickboxing in the first place. How much incentive does that inspiration you provide to other young women provide for you to continue doing what you're doing in this realm of professional boxing?
I think it means everything to me. The fact that I can break down barriers, stereotypes. I go against the norm in terms of being female, being Asian, being ethnic, suffering from ME. I show that there is no limits. And this is what, for me, I've already won. Stepping into that ring, I believe I'm making the difference, and that's what inspires me to inspire others.
Well, all of you in the room are aware of the fact that boxing brings up such fantastic stories, and the athletes are willing to share those stories with us, the media members, and I'm sure that we're all grateful for that. Roxana Bega making her professional debut at the York Hall this Saturday, and it will be part of the professional boxing bill that is going live on free-to-air television on Channel 5, 10:30 on Saturday night. So the man seated at the far right-hand side of the table to my far right-hand side is Wadi Camacho, the reigning Southern Area Cruiserweight champion, preparing to face off against a man who you've met before, who you've beaten before in defending that Southern Area title. How have preparations gone for this, what is effectively a rematch as you put your title on the line?
Yeah, just want to say hello to everyone. Thank you so much, David, for putting me on this fantastic show. Yeah, preparation's gone really good. Just what I've been doing now is just listening, because I think that was something I probably had a little bit of problem of not listening, just doing my own thing. But now, I've got great people around me, and now people are just going to see a great show, a great boxing fight.
What has brought that change around? Why are you listening now? Is that a maturity thing? Is that what has brought that change about in your approach?
I think it's because, like I said, certain fights I should be winning easy, but it's just me probably going into that macho world and trying to throw big bombs that I don't need to. I can actually just win the fight very simple, using my jab, not get myself too emotional. And but everyone's going to see on Saturday night what I'm going to be doing to Danny.
Well, you met back in July of 2016. You won, forcing a retirement inside the distance in the 6th round. What does that do to your approach for this contest? I know you're a consummate professional, but seeing as you've beaten him before, how real is the danger, how real is the possibility of complacency on your part, and you perhaps not preparing as diligently as you otherwise would?
No, not really. I think the thing I got about this fight is I got goosebumps because I know what I've got next in line. I know I should be obviously concentrating on this, but this is it gives me fire in my system to actually push him much more and concentrate what I need to do. And like I said, with Danny, the first time I took it easy with him, I broke his heart. But I think this time round, you know, because I'm going to do it a little bit sweeter and I'm going to put a little KO towards it just to completely make him feel good.
Well, Danny, you've heard what Waddy's got to say. You've been in the ring with him before, but since that defeat back in July of 2016, you've rattled off 3 straight victories. What level of confidence do you bring into this, your 4th Southern Area title bid?
First of all, thanks to David for having us on the show. Basically, Waddy knows I'm a lot better this time round. Waddy, you're saying you're a lot better as well, but your last 2 performances, you know I would have. Do you know what I mean? Well, for instance, I dealt with Ozzy Jervy in 3 rounds. You beat him by a point. Jose Lopez, you beat him by a point or something. I'd have dealt with him much easier than obviously Waddy did.
I'll tell you what, let me stop you right there. After I knock you out, why didn't you go and face Lopez and I guarantee you. Wait, listen, I'm speaking. I know, listen, I'm speaking. Yeah. After I knock you out, why didn't you go and face him, beg to Steve to put you back on that show, and obviously you face him, and I guarantee he'll beat you. At the end of the day, listen, you have not improved. At the end of the day, you beat Ozzy, knocked him out round 9 or whatever. You beat my friend,
round 3, mate,
or whatever. And at the end of the day, you faced my friend Spiros. Like I said, you done what you had to do, but you have not improved since I fought you. You have not improved.
Trust me, buddy, I have, mate.
Huh?
Trust me, mate. You'll see Saturday that I have. Trust me.
All you do.
The last time I boxed Waddy, I had no foot movement. I just went to.
You didn't have nothing. And what happened there? I broke your heart. Your corner retired you because it said, you know what? Let me live. Let me live another day.
Anyway, mate.
That belt should be. Listen, you see this belt? I don't care about this belt. Like I said, I'm just gonna come to the night.
Good.
I'm gonna let my team hold the belt.
I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm gonna face you on the night. I'm gonna beat you, and I'm just like I said. I should not even be on the Southern Area, but because I've made certain mistakes, that's why I'm back to my Southern Area. But you have not improved. Like I said, all you are is just like another. How can I say? A tough sparring partner. That's all you are. I can just deal with it. You have not got no foot movement. All you depend on.
Buddy,
listen. Wait. All you depend on is just trying to land that one big power shot. What if that power shot doesn't come? What are you gonna do?
Buddy, I'm gonna dance.
Answer
I'm
my
gonna
question.
dance rings round you. Trust me.
Dance around.
Yeah.
You have not got no boxing movement.
Your foot movement's crap, mate. I'm gonna show you. Your foot movement's crap. Honestly.
Hey, listen, you're a bit crazy.
No, you're crazy. You're crazy.
What did you learn in that first fight, Danny, which didn't go your way? What did you learn in that first contest that is going to help you in this contest?
Basically, I went in there with no foot movement, no head movement, just tried walking Waddy down and throwing bombs. Obviously, it didn't
never
work.
happen.
Waddy, it didn't work. I just said that.
And it will never happen.
Since that, if people have been at York and seen my performances, they'll know. Trust, do you know what I mean? Even Waddy knows. He was in the change room for one of them. He knows I'm a lot better this time round.
But what happened with Spiros' fight? Like your boxing.
Spiros, mate, I ruined him. I won 9 of the 10 rounds. I put him on the floor and I ruined him.
Listen, but there weren't no boxing movement. This is what I'm trying to say. All you depend. Listen. All you depend on is just trying to land that power. But you don't have power.
Yeah, alright.
You don't have power. Trust me, you don't have power.
Stand and fight me, toe to toe, stand and fight me Saturday, Waddy.
Only a stupid man would do that. Listen to this.
Try
Only a stupid man. I tell you straight. Yeah.
Well, I'm quicker than you, mate. You get knocked straight out, trust me.
This is what I'm saying. Knockout. Listen, when you get so tired in the fight, that's when after I'm going to come on top and I'm going to push you back. And like I said, I don't know if it's going to... Basically, you're going to be on the floor, but...
Yeah, I can't wait.
Both men have clearly got plenty to say ahead of this Southern Area title fight on Saturday night. That is part of the offering that is going on free-to-air television live on Channel 5, 10:30 p.m. on Saturday night. It's part of an 11-fight bill that's taking place at the York Hall this Saturday. A full card of professional bouts. Get along if you can, of course, to that spiritual home of small hall boxing in the UK. It's also being streamed on the Sport Bible before the main events go on to Channel 5 at 10:30 p.m. So everybody has had a lot to say. Before we hand it back to the promoter David Haye. I just want to turn to the heavyweights once again and get their final thoughts ahead of their co-main event showdown scheduled for 10 3-minute rounds. As you've been saying, Donnie, you've been in the ring in training camps with a lot of world champions, a lot of world-class boxers. You've been in the ring with Dylan White as he's getting ready for his big showdown against Lucas Brown. But you've also had a lot to say about the current state of the British heavyweight division. And outside of 4 guys who you mentioned, you say that everybody else is on a hype job. What makes you think that way? You include Joe Joyce in that, saying that he's not worthy of the hype that he's receiving. What makes you think that way?
Mr. Haye gives them everything.
Oh yeah?
Gives you everything.
What was you saying about the spoon-fed?
Spoon-fed
Yeah.
gives you everything, bro.
Oh yeah?
I have nothing.
And what are you gonna do?
I'm trying to take it, bro. Everything you got.
Oh yeah?
Everything.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
All right.
See what you got. Oh, that's what you got, yeah. Oh,
I saw what Usyk did to you, man.
So who?
Usyk. I saw what
Yeah,
he
well,
did
he was a gold medalist, isn't it?
Yep, I saw what
Yeah,
he did
it's
to you,
a
man.
tough fight, wasn't it?
I saw what he did to you, man.
Good fight.
This shit, man. You can't break an egg. You didn't even knock Ian Lewison out. A man you should have knocked the fuck out.
Oh yeah?
You should have put him on his back.
Well, I did knock him out.
You didn't. That's a TKO's not a knockout.
Yeah, but if you go
TKO's
back,
not a
go
knockout.
back and look.
It's not a
your eyes,
knockout. TKO's not a knockout. No, sleep.
It's just
Should've put him
it's
to
a
sleep.
shame that the
Nah.
referee didn't see
Nah.
the uppercut, and you probably won't see it when you get knocked down.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, when I saw this show on paper, it looked good. And now seeing all the guys here, how pumped up they are, I'm even more excited. And it's more exciting that it's actually on free-to-air television, Channel 5. So anyone can tune in, Channel 5, 10:30 p.m. You can get yourself some good quality grudge match action. So there you go.
Having heard what everybody's got to say, how excited are you as a promoter about the content that is being offered on Saturday night?
Very, very excited, specifically Roxana. When I heard her story, when I saw how successful she was as a Muay Thai fighter, and I know how tough that sport is, I wanted to meet this young lady. I wanted her to meet Ismael Salas, as Ismael Salas, for me, is the best boxing teacher on the planet. It's one thing just holding pads, but he genuinely revamps people's styles, and he's been working with Roxana day in and day out, and I've seen huge improvements in her. I've seen her transform from a kickboxer to a boxer, and I'm looking forward to the world seeing who I believe will be, a world champion, in not a long time. If you watch her sparring, if you watch her hitting the bags, whatever she does, she looks fantastic, and she's got such a great story. She's only dabbled in a little bit of her life, so some of the reporters here quiz her on her life story, because there'll be movies made about this young lady. I promise you that, and the show's going to be great. All the fighters are fit, ready, and enjoy some free boxing. From me to you, enjoy.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, there will be head-to-head opportunities for the photographers and videographers here. We'll get the fighters to face off. There'll be group interview opportunities afterwards. But just looking ahead, I know all of the boxers are focused on what's going on Saturday night. But for the heavyweights in particular, Joe Joyce, you've talked about, you've paid a lot for his services. You want to put him on a fast track. If he's successful in this contest, what is the next step? What level do you look to move him to?
I'm not looking past Donnie Palmer by any stretch of the imagination. He's a serious contender. Joe knows, without winning this fight, there's no fights down the line. He's 32 years of age. He needs to perform at a very high level, very fast. He's doing it in the gym, but when the lights are on, so far he's ticked all the boxes. And this is another box. This is another level. He's fighting someone bigger than him, stronger than him, heavier than him. I haven't seen how he deals with that yet. I will find out on Saturday night. I, in my heart, believe he has what it takes, but me believing one thing and something else happening could be potentially different. Speaking to Donnie, he's super confident. He's here to win. He's not here to pick up a paycheck. He's here to, take whatever credibility Joe Joyce has and move on. And I'm just looking forward to that fight. The winner of this fight can look to fight on my undercard against Tony Bellew, and someone the likes of Derek Chisora, if he's fighting for 20 grand on the Dylan White undercard. So we offered him significantly 6-7 times that if he wants to fight the winner of this fight. So come on, Derek. The fans want the fight. Who do you want to fight? So yeah, so the winner of this fight's on the undercard.
So considerable incentive for the heavyweights who are the co-main event feature, along with the cruiserweight title fight between Matty Askins and Stephen Simmons. It's all coming to you live and free on Channel 5 this Saturday evening at 10:30 p.m. So, ladies and gentlemen, before we get the boxers to face off for the photographers and videographers here, any questions from the floor for the boxers in attendance, or indeed the promoter of Saturday night, Mr. David Haye?
Dave, what time does it actually start, the whole programme?
10:30 p.m. sharp.
10:30.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the undercard.
Oh, the undercard starts on 4:30 p.m. So if the buy tickets to the show, 4:30. Got a lot of fights on. Busy show. It goes live on Sport Bible at 7:30 p.m.
So what time does the doors open?
Doors open 4 o'clock. Was it 4:15?
Doors at 4:30, first bells at 5.
Okay. Don't be late.
Any questions from the floor, ladies and gentlemen, for the boxers in attendance here?
Waddy and Danny, if you get through your fight, are you looking to fight Matty or Stephen Simmons?
It'll be me, mate. It'll not be Simmons.
Huh?
It'll not be Simmons, it'll be me.
It's actually Commonwealth Eliminator.
Somewhere.
Commonwealth Eliminator as well as the Southern area.
Okay. All right. So that was my question.
Any further questions, ladies and gentlemen?
So you spotted Dylan and other. How do you think that's going to help you to upset against your choice? You sparred against all these other sparring partners. And how do you think-
Confidence.
Confidence.
Confidence, you know, I mean, Dillian's way better than him. So, you know, iron sharpens iron, you know? So that's how I answer the question.
That's interesting.
Cousens. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we'll bring the fighters together for their head-to-head.
History, all 4 belts in the cruiserweight division will belong proudly around the waist of one man,